lesson you learn is no zealot like a convert. Obviously, he's converted because he hated crypto before. But I think he's finally realizing things we wrote 5 years ago. This space is nothing but good for America. It's most widely tracked crypto is not Bitcoin. It's actually Tether, the U.S. dollar, trades more than Bitcoin, double on a daily basis. But it's impressive what he's doing and saying to get elected. And I think that's the number one thing. He's saying whatever he can to get elected. And that's what's happening. The crypto people have picked up onto it, but this rally sounds a little suspicious because it happened right during the conference, the Bitcoin conference that's in Tennessee now that used to be in Miami.
Why isn't it in Miami anymore?
Well, I heard that had some issues. I don't really dig into that, but it's kind of nice to see it move on because I just was on a couple calls this morning with people who were there. There's so much enthusiasm as you expect in crowds and people getting together and all trying to, as they say in the space, pump their bags. But it puts on my radars. This is when you want to be really careful with an asset that's basically 3 times the volatility of beta. The S&P 500 basically has been trading together with beta for 10 years. And I think the risks are that it leads the way lower. So I'm very skeptical. And the key thing I like to say about Bitcoin is a lot of the easy money has been made. We had the GBTC discount, that's gone. That's a Grayscale Bitcoin Trust. We had the ETH discount, that's gone. And things like MicroStrategy have performed so well. I think I'm quite skeptical now at these levels.
Well, when we go back to the fundamental part that President Trump was talking about in terms of wants to make the U.S. the Bitcoin hub and not, say, China or other countries, is that something that the U.S. could actually do?
Well, it already is. I mean, most of them trade in the U.S. Most widely traded crypto on the planet is tethered to the U.S. dollar. We did launch the ETFs in this country, but it went through that normal U.S. discourse that you don't have in China. China, it's been banned. So it already has. It's just, I think people just have to remember how the system in this country works. There is a rule of law. We fight it out. We come to the proper conclusion. And that's what's happened with Bitcoin. We do have ETFs. And it was our bias in the very beginning when we launched the Bloomberg Galaxy Crypto Index in 2018 that at some point ETFs will track this index and track broad indices. It's all heading that way. I guess Mr. Trump is trying to say it's going to head that way faster. But to me, what he's saying is very much just out to get votes, and it's a question of will he do it and can he do it?
Hey, Mike, for as long as I can remember, you've been telling us to just shut up and buy gold. It just recently hit an all-time high.
In a nice way. In a nice way.
It recently hit an all-time high. Can you just refresh us on why gold continues to go higher?
Well, the number one reason I think started with the unlimited friendship between President Xi and President Putin, and it changed the world dynamic. Now, top central banks of the world are buying gold. It's becoming the second reserve asset next to the euro, according to the World Gold Council. And that, to me, is an overwhelming force. But what's most significant lately is we have had major outflows in ETFs, which looks like they're just starting to turn back upward. So gold, to me, is the most enduring commodity I think is going to continue to perform. And I do like mentioning in the same space as crypto, because the way I see it with equities getting very expensive, I've been saying for a while, you can't hold gold without some Bitcoin in that space, the digital version. But at some point, I think on a risk-adjusted basis, you're better off overweight in the metal and the analog metal. I think that's what's happening now. That's starting to get a sentiment shift. And the way I see it, deflation in the commodities is propelling inflation in gold. So I'll end with this. Right. The Bloomberg Commodity Index, spot index, is right now down on the year. It was up 12% in May, and gold just keeps marching along. I think those trends are going to continue.
So to that point, and this also goes to, I think, the crypto move as well, is there an idea that if the Fed actually cuts, that inflation comes back, and then that's another reason why we're seeing, say, gold and crypto rallying?
I think that's the potential if they cut too fast, but it's the lessons of human nature and history, Alex, are playing out here. We all know that we created too much liquidity and too much inflation. Now, we had a good reason. We all thought we were going to die 4 years ago. Now we're at this space now that I think the Fed's it can't cut yet because the stock market's so strong and such a relevant part of GDP, 2 times GDP. It looks like they're going to be behind the curve. The way I see gold, though, it's the most enduring. It's the alternative to treasuries. I think it's the risk-off trade where you look at what's been the most beat-up asset for the last 3 years. Long bond U.S. treasuries. I think that trade's going to be happening together where gold goes up and treasury bond yields decline. And a good indication is what's happening in China. 2.15%. That's the 10-year note yield in China right now. It's the lowest in our database since 2006.